Hello everyone, my name is Elena and the paper I'm going to present today called Accessibility Came by Accident, Use of Voice-Controlled Intelligent Personal Assistants by People with Disabilities. And as you can see from the title, we are going to talk about the accessibility of personal assistants. We will try to understand how users with disabilities are making use of these devices, what are accessibility benefits and barriers, and what are the recommendations for future personal assistance design. To begin with, voice-controlled intelligent personal assistants, such as, for example, Amazon Echo or Google Home, have introduced a new path for interaction. These devices provide a conversational interface to allow users to ask for and save information, control smart home appliances, and perform a range of online actions. From an accessible technology perspective, voice-controlled personal assistants offer the potential to apply speech input and output beyond the traditional confines of text dictation and screen reader software. A person with limited mobility, for example, can control their home's lighting or door locks by voice, while a blind user can ask for the time or weather. However, due to their recent introduction, researchers have only begun to understand how these devices are being used by the general population, let alone users with disabilities. So, the focus of this exploratory research was to address such questions as: first of all, to what extent are personal assistants, which were not necessarily designed with accessibility in mind, are actually accessible? Secondly, how are people with disabilities making use of them? And thirdly, what design opportunities do these devices offer to further support everyday activities for users with disabilities? And to answer these questions, two studies were conducted. The first study broadly examined use of personal assistance by people with disabilities by collecting and analyzing online customer reviews of the Amazon Echo, perhaps the most popular personal assistant, and its offshoots, the Echo Dot and Tab. And then the second study offered a more in-depth understanding of one specific subset of users, those with visual impairments, when 16 participants were interviewed separately. Speaking about the first study, the approach of this study was inspired by analysis of online content to derive implications for accessible design. 364 verified reviews from Amazon.com were chosen. All of them were related to cognitive, sensory, or physical abilities, and mainly they were written by people who had close ties with users with a disability. And then these reviews were coded using the codebook and analyzed. And it turned out that the users of personal assistance included a diverse set of disabilities, such as visual impairment, motor or mobility impairment, speech impairment, cognitive impairment, and hearing loss. Also, around 5% of the reviews mentioned that the disability was only short-term, and vast majority of reviews mentioned that users with disabilities lived in the households with multiple members. In terms of overall tone, most reviews were positive. Some of them referred to the devices as companion, new best friend, someone to talk to, someone who become an integral part of the user's life. Many users positively compared the personal assistants to smartphone, computers, or other devices since it allowed them to perform a variety of tasks that had previously required multiple technologies. And also, some reviews mentioned that personal assistants provide easy access to digital technology as compared to other computing devices. However, some reviews mention certain limitations. such as missing of desired features, for example, emergency calls. Also, limited use of device, lack of portability, and the cost of the device. Over half of the reviews mentioned specific tasks for which the device was used. The most common task demonstrated a mix of entertainment and utility, such as listening to music, looking up information, checking the weather, playing audiobooks, and so on. Also, increased independence appeared as the theme, as the reviews mentioned that personal assistants gave them an ability to control home appliances, use the device for a range of small tasks without having to depend on someone else, or even reduce the burden of caregivers, since personal assistants can perform some of their duties, such as reading books or even answering simple questions. Also, some reviews mentioned that the device had improved safety since it has a function of sending an emergency alert to a contact. Also, accessibility challenges arose, primarily related to speech interaction, the device ecosystem, and memory demands. 64 reviews mentioned speech recognition accuracy, most of which were positively mentioned, even for people with speech impairment. For example, one of the reviews stated, "Most humans cannot understand me, but Alexa can." Still, some difficulties remained, such as need to pronounce words clearly and speak loudly. Another issue that arose for users more broadly, beyond those with speech impairments, was the device timing out before the speaker could complete their command. A second accessibility challenge arose from the paired smartphone app, which is required for device setup. 6 users with visual impairments mentioned accessibility issues with the app, which highlights the need to ensure that the entire device ecosystem, not just the voice interaction, is actually accessible. And memory demands of the voice-based interaction were also an issue. Some reviews mentioned difficulties in remembering voice commands, which could be particularly problematic for older adults or users with cognitive impairment. Along with conventional uses of the devices, some unexpected use cases arose, including speech therapy, learning support, and memory aid. In terms of speech therapy, 7 reviews described how the device had helped users with speech impairments to talk slowly, clearly, and loudly. The conversational nature of the device was also seen as helpful. Use of the device to support learning also arose. The voice-based conversational interaction allowed some users with print disabilities to access information. Specifically, of the 5 reviews that mentioned a user with dyslexia, 4 reported that the device was useful for reading audiobooks and asking questions. And the third unexpected use case was as a memory aid for users who had memory difficulties. Features like setting reminders, timers, managing a calendar, to-do lists, and shopping lists, asking for the time, date, and weather were seen as most helpful. And these unexpected use cases of speech therapy, learning support, and memory aid point to potentially fruitful cases of future work in this field. The first study had some limitations, such as the data collected didn't allow in-depth understanding of individuals' users' experiences. So the second study was conducted, and researchers turned to an interview method. 16 participants with visual impairments were recruited. All of them owned Amazon Echo or some other personal assistants. And interviews were conducted and then transcribed and coded and analyzed. All participants found the device to be really useful. with 5 participants mentioning that it had become an integral part of their lives. Most participants used the device multiple times a day, while 2 used it once every few days. Participants made use of and valued a range of features. The most commonly reported uses were playing music and checking the weather. Less frequent but still popular tasks included setting timers, listening to news, playing games, online shopping, looking up information, checking the time or date, and so on. 3 main benefits that arose were efficiency, impacts on independence, and an ability to replace a range of other technologies. Toward the theme of efficiency, 7 participants mentioned that the device has enabled them to perform tasks faster than before, such as online shopping, checking the weather, listening to news, or playing music. Another main benefit was to improve on a disparate set of existing technologies. Positive comparisons were made against smartphones, computers, tablets, talking clocks, talking calculators. And finally, the theme of independence was mentioned, that is, enabling tasks that had previously required assistance from others. Tasks mentioned included being able to shop, play games, and control the home environment. Accessibility challenges arose primarily due to the device's ecosystem, which is elements of the system beyond voice-based interaction. Participants reported that device setup was difficult, either on initial purchase or whenever the device got disconnected from the internet. And also the physical design caused issues for 2 participants. And finally, 8 participants reported difficulty in learning about the existence of features. All participants wanted their home to be automated with the connection of smart home appliances to their personal assistants. And the most common desired smart appliances when posed to all 16 participants were thermostats and lights. Less common requests included oven, dishwasher, security system, garage door, dryer, TV, and so on. Although security has been called out as an overall important issue for intelligent personal assistants, only 4 participants raised security concerns, such as cloud-based services being hacked. For privacy concerns, participants were evenly split. Half believed that their conversations were not sensitive enough to cause any harm for them, with one participant even mentioning that the always-on feature can be positive, since personal assistants can record some accidents or even crimes that can be committed against users with impairment. And of the 8 participants who were concerned about the privacy, however, the 2 main issues were the device always listening and recording, and personal information being collected. Concerns affected device usage for 5 participants. For example, they didn't use calendars or they didn't use applications that ask for location details. So both conducted studies confirmed that intelligent personal assistants have replaced many disparate devices and improved efficiency and independence for a variety of tasks. With the increasing adoption of voice-controlled conversational interfaces and home-based personal assistants, including people with disabilities in the design of these technologies is critical. Both studies demonstrated the immense potential of voice-controlled personal assistants to provide inclusive, accessible interaction for people with a range of disabilities. And for the discussion, I wanted to ask everyone opinions on how else voice assistants can make technical environment more inclusive, what other benefits they can bring. For example, this paper mostly focused on the users with physical impairments. However, if we broaden the scope of possible users, for example, For people with dementia, voice assistants are a non-judgmental way to help with medication reminders, as well as with answering the same questions over and over without having to ask the caregiver, who may already be emotionally exhausted. And also, it is a wonderful way for other people who may not own a smartphone or laptop or don't have a high level of comfort with them to still have access to the internet and stay in touch with family. So, what do you think about it? I'm really excited to listen to your opinions. Thank you.
Hello, this is Seung and this is what I led. Alexa, Siri, Cortana, and more. Introduction to voice assistants. It's quite very brief paper, so okay, let's move on. The introduction. This paper briefly review about smart speaker and AI voice assistance technology. Then, what is AI speaker? Apple Siri, Microsoft Cortana, Amazon's Alexa, and Google's Assistant are all software agents that run on purpose-built speaker device or smartphone. The software constantly listens for a keyword to wake it up. Once it hears the keyword, it records the user's voice and sends it to a specialized server, which processes and interprets it as a command. Recent advances in natural language processing and machine learning and computational linguistics. This kind of development has allowed voice assistants to create meaningful responses quickly. And there are 4 reasons for this kind of work can be. First, a huge increase in computing power. Second, the availability of very large amounts of linguistic data. Third, the development of highly successful machine learning method. And last is a much richer understanding of the structure of human language and its deployment in social context. And next, what AI speaker can do. AI speaker has very many functions. For example, like send and read text messages, make phone calls, and send and read email. And also they can answer basic informational questions like what time is it, or what's the weather outside, or how many ounces are in a cup. And it also can doing like act like smartphone functions like timers, alarms, and calendar entries, and set reminders, make lists, and do basic calculations. And also it control media playback from connected services such as Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, Netflix, and Spotify. And mainly it also control IoTs enabled devices such as light, alarms, and locks of doors. And in addition to these tasks, voice assistants can add other features often called skills. Skills is expanding their abilities by interfacing with other programs via voice commands. For example, Amazon's Alexa has skill for playing Jeopardy, ordering your usual drink from your local Starbucks, and summoning an Uber or Lyft using connected account data. Oh, sorry. Assistants are available on most smartphone platforms as well, like iPhone Siri on iPhones or Alexa and Google Assistants on iOS. And Android. And next. One of the main issue with this voice-activated device is security. The major security risk is because this device will read out calendar contents, emails, and other highly personal information. And in actual case, a man discovered that the iPad in his living room would unlock the front door for anyone who stood outside and asked Siri to let them in. And household members could make unauthorized purchases as well, like the 6-year-old girl who ordered herself a dollhouse and 4 pounds of sugar cookies via Alex. And also, inaudible commands delivered at ultrasonic frequencies is also possible. Um, in some experiment, the newscaster spoke the words, "Alexa, order me a dollhouse." In the course of reporting the story, the hundreds of Alexa in viewers' homes actually respond to the newscaster in TV. By their nature, this device must be listening at all times so that they can respond to users. Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft all insist that their devices are not recording unless users pick the command to wake the assistants. But there has been at least one case where a malfunctioning device was recording at all times and sending those recordings back to Google servers. Even if the companies developing these voice assistants are being careful and very safe, there is potential for data to be stolen. And Rust light. Voice assistants and AI speakers have the potential to radically change how users interact with computers. For many users, the ability to read and type is a barrier to read information or interact with a computer. But voice assistants can bridge the information gap for those users. And maybe every book could be an audiobook. And voice assistants also have the potential to revolutionize translation. Google recently announced a new set of earbuds that pair with Hear voice assistance for real-time voice translation. The near instant results should make it useful for simple conversations. Voice assistants could also easily be programmed to act as virtual tour guide in smaller gallery or exhibit spaces. Patrons and visitors could ask the assistant to tell them about exhibit, and the assistants can read back prepared remarks. And also libraries with a technology focus may want to consider lending these devices and providing basic training so that patrons can experiment with this device in their home as well. So AI speaker and voice assistants have a very bright future and very huge potential so many kinds of IoT things and in our daily life. And this is end of my first presentation. Thank you, and I'll meet in my second presentation. Hi everyone, it's Seung-jong, and this is what I let. Hey Alexa, examine the variables influencing the use of artificial intelligence in home voice assistants. Here is introduction. This research presents a conceptual model on the use of voice control technology and on empirical validation of the model through the use of structure equation modeling with a sample of 724 in-home AI speaker users. As we know in previous study, 27% of the global aligned population is using voice search, and prediction of in-home voice assistants will see a growth of AI speaker market as 1,000% from 2018 to 2023. The voice assistants use natural language processing and machine learning, so more sophisticated interaction between human and AI become possible. However, there is a little academic research exploring what influences individuals' use of voice technology. So this is what this paper wants to research. And this is theoretical concept. The UNGT, which means use and gratification theory, is grounded in communication science and has been used to understand why individuals seek the use of specific media or technology to satisfy their need. And this theory can be considered axiomatic as it can be applied to almost every type of media. So UNGT can be applied to understanding individuals' choice to partake in the use of in-home voice assistants. Individuals' needs will vary based on unique characteristics and situation. However, researchers have attempted to categorize needs and gratifications of users. Most recently, researchers outlined 3 categories, including utilitarian benefit, hedonic benefits, and symbolic benefits. And there are additional categories, namely social benefit, referring to the idea that individuals use specific media for social needs. And this is hypothetical model for this research. And let's move on to each concept. First, in utilitarian perspective, voice assistants have been conceptualized as offering individuals a useful and convenient way to complete tasks such as search for information, purchasing products, or looking on customer service information. Given the aforementioned ability to use in-home voice assistants, hands-free without the need to interact with a physical user interface, and it enabling individuals to multitask during interactions. So researcher posits that the subsequent usefulness and convenience provided by in-home voice assistants will influence their use. Thus, here is hypothesis 1. The utilitarian benefits from in-home voice assistants will have a positive influence on individuals' use of the technology. Second is hedonic benefits. Hedonic benefits or attributes relate to the individual's emotional experience, such as enjoyment and pleasure obtained from interacting or using new technology like voice assistants and AI speakers. And there were several studies which present hedonic motivation to use them is fundamental in the success of applications. So hypothesis 2 is the hedonic benefits from in-home voice assistants will have a positive influence on individuals' use of the technology. And symbolic benefits. Symbolic benefits refer to the extent to which an individual perceives to gain a symbolic reward, such as making a favorable impression on others. And this also relates to an individual's a sense of self or social identity, resulting from the adoption or use of the technology, like individual purchase luxury items for symbolic purpose. Nowadays, he or she also purchase new technology device like wearable device or AI speakers. So hypothesis 3, the symbolic benefits from in-home voice assistants will have a positive influence on individuals' use of the technology. And social benefits. Social benefits derive from two perspectives. First, social presence. In social presence context, machines makes individuals feel as though they are in the presence of another social entity. As computers use natural language, interact with users in real time, and in some cases, computer can fulfill traditional human-operated social rules. And second, social attractiveness. Individuals are more likely to be socially attracted to others with pleasant demeanor, increasing their social attractiveness. AI and voice assistants learn users' preference and habits, and through natural language conversation, users are more likely to be attracted to AI. So there are two hypotheses about social benefits. H4, the social presence from in-home voice assistants will have a positive influence on individuals' use of technology. And H5 is also same. And there are some moderation effect of privacy risks. Privacy risks have been conceptualized as having a dampening effect on individuals' adoption and use of voice assistant technology. An AI speaker has significant privacy issue about personal information and financial data and the stolen of this kind of data. Thus, hypothesis 6 is perceived privacy risk will have a moderating negative effect on previous 5 perspectives. And additionally, there are 4 control variables, which is technology expertise, age, gender, and household size. And now let's move on to methodology part. In this study, an online questionnaire was used to gather the data to test the hypothesis model. The research was limited to the Amazon Echo because of the large adoption rate of the device, and data were gathered from 724 respondents. And respondents had used the device for at least 1 month. And this is questionnaire. There are 6 variables utilizing a 7-point scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And this questionnaire were used to measure utilitarian benefits, hedonic benefits, symbolic benefits, social attractiveness, and usage of in-home voice assistant and perceived privacy risk. Furthermore, in order to test the hypothesis model, the structural equation modeling was used, and table 4 is result of structural equation modeling. And the moderating effect were also analyzed by using structural equation modeling, and the result in table 5. And here is the result. The result indicate the importance of the utilitarian benefits motivating the use of AI speakers, thus supporting H1, hypothesis 1. Although somewhat a weak relationship, the result also indicates support for hypothesis 3 and symbolic benefits appeal to motivate individuals to use an in-home voice assistance. And additionally, the social benefits, which is social presence and social attraction, have a strong impact in motivating individuals' use of AI speakers. However, there are no significant result was found between hedonic benefits and usage of AI speakers. And there are also positive significant relationship with household size and usage of in-home voice assistants. There are two sizes of household, which 1 or 2 person as small and 3 or more person as big. And there are significant difference between social benefits and the use of in-home voice assistants with regard to household size. Small households are affected more positively than bigger households. And there are results of moderate impact. Utilitarian benefits and social benefits remain positively significant in influencing the use of AI speaker, but the introduction of the moderating variable perceived privacy risk resulted in a reduction with dampening effect. The results also assert that the symbolic benefits of the voice assistance are outweighed by the perceived privacy risk, resulting in a significant negative moderating effect between symbolic benefits and usage. And this is part of discussion. This study presents that individuals are motivated by the utilitarian benefits, symbolic benefits, and social benefits. Conversely, hedonic benefits do not motivate individual use of such technology. So individuals using AI speaker for usefulness and convenience and for their social status, but not for to seek fun or enjoyment. And there are also strong social benefits in the form of social presence and social attractiveness. While technology in the past was just highlighted as conveying social presence, but nowadays AI-powered voice assistants convey one of the strongest human-like attributes through the use of voice communication. And also, study results outline a significant dampening effect of perceived privacy risks on utilitarian benefits and social benefits. So the concerns of stolen person details, financial details, and the perception of assistance listening to private conversation as conceptualized in the literature explain the dampening and negative effect of perceived privacy risk on the use of the technology. And there are practical implications for developer or producers. In-home voice assistants are used for utilitarian purpose, so developer who are developing skills, which mean applications, should focus on the utilitarian benefits that can be gained from their skill. And security and privacy issues are also important concerns. Like voice printing, which uniquely identify the user, would be needed. And also symbolic perspective, design and aesthetical pleasing is also important to match the design of user's home. And this kind of design perspective are also should be concerned. And this paper is meaningful for me because it presents what motivates users to use AI speakers by using ATCI and social communication perspective. And this kind of work is quite fit to what I want to study. So The order of research and theoretical background are very interesting to me. And this is it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Seoyeon Jung, and I will introduce some AI speakers with paper titled Alexa, Are You Listening? Privacy Perceptions, Concerns, and Privacy Seeking Behaviors with Smart Speakers. And I will introduce about smart speaker. The Amazon Echo smart speaker debuted in November 2014. Smart speakers offer users hands-free voice control, but to detect and respond to voice commands, the speaker's microphones have to continuously listen for their wake word, like Alexa. Meanwhile, security researchers have identified security vulnerabilities that would allow attackers to exploit smart speakers as wiretaps, despite the privacy intrusive potential of smart speakers' ability to continuously record voice in intimate spaces, such as the home. Consumers' privacy concerns with smart speakers and how these concerns affect smart speaker adoption and use have not been studied in detail. We asked the following researcher questions. 1. What factors affect the adoption of smart speakers? 2. What are individuals' privacy perception and concerns regarding smart speakers? 3. How do those privacy concerns affect their behavior around and with smart speakers? To address these research questions, we conducted a diary study followed by semi-structured interviews with 17 smart speakers users as well as interviews with 17 non-users. Then, what is method? Following the diary interview method, we first conducted a one-week diary study with smart speaker users to learn how users engage with their smart speakers on a daily basis and mitigate recall bias often present in isolated interviews. Prior to the beginning of the diary study, one of the authors video called each user to explain the diary procedure and study. Users were asked to submit at least one diary entry per day for 1 week through an online survey. We asked about instances in which they used the device, as well as times they had considered using the smart speaker but did not, as those situations might signify privacy-seeking behaviors. We also asked users to report accidental smart speaker activations in case these instances triggered reflection on privacy. Then, non-users were interviewed on our university campus using an abbreviated version of the smart speaker user interview script. We first asked about their decision to not obtain a smart speaker, followed by questions that had indirect privacy implications. And then, what is findings? We first provide context on who our smart speaker users are and how they are using the devices. we next analyzed in more detail participants' security and privacy concerns regarding smart speakers, as well as how levels of awareness, deliberation, and resignation affected how participants made privacy convenience trade-offs. And then lastly, we discussed how and why most users do not engage in privacy-seeking behaviors around their device or use current privacy controls. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we is no, they study findings. The highly privacy-conscious non-users distrusted companies to adhere to their terms of service, TOS, believing that the company could change the TOS at any time, while a few privacy-conscious non-users said uneasiness about privacy and device security deterred them from adoption. And then, primary motives for smart speaker use: convenience. For users, the most prevalent motivating factor for purchasing a smart speaker was the convenience offered by smart speakers. These users desired to be among the first people to own this technology propelled them to adopt smart speakers. Value placed on personal data privacy. Privacy-conscious non-users were deeply uncomfortable with smart speakers' potential to give companies and malicious actors access to the intimacy of their homes. Despite having nothing to hide, they strongly believed in their right to privacy and did not trust companies to respect that right. In summary, while most users and non-users expressed uncertainty about whether smart speakers were always recording, they engaged with this uncertainty quite differently. Privacy-conscious non-users did not trust smart speakers to record only comments and to protect their data from malicious parties. Then, smart speakers audio logs. Users can also access the audio recordings of their comments through their smart speakers mobile or web companion app. Through those apps, they can also delete selected or all of their recordings if they do not want them kept on the speaker's company's servers. Both Amazon and Google mentioned these voice history or activity logs as part of their privacy and security protection measures for their voice assistants. Conclusion: through our diary study and interviews with 17 smart speakers users and interviews with 17 non-users, they found privacy was not a primary consideration in users' adoption decisions, but did serve as a deterrent for some non-users. And then I want to discussion about related with smart speakers, privacy like question 1. What are the important roles of trust in using smart speakers? And last, how can companies provide transparency about data practice in smart speakers? Let's talk about it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Minu Kim. Our team's assignment was to find articles for AI speakers and users. Today, I'm going to summarize the article called Understanding the Long-Term Use of Smart Speaker Assistant. Okay. This article is written in 2018 and data was gathered at 2017. They have analyzed the smart speaker usage by user group, domains, and using time. They have explored how people are interacting with smart speaker assistant in their daily lives. Okay. These are their research questions. What types of command do people make to their smart speaker? And how are these devices used at different times of day or days of the week? And how do these types of commands change over time as user became more familiar with these devices? And last, are there any differences in use of these devices in different age group or household size? These are methods that how they collected the data. They used the Amazon MTurk, and the 88 device users, only the Google Home user have volunteered, so they gathered the 65,499 command log used in average 110 days. Okay. There are many findings that they have discovered, but we have time issues, so I'm going to share some interesting points that I have found. First is the daily use. The median household issued 4.1 command to their Google Home devices per day. The length of the word in one command was about 4 words, as you can find out in the figure at the right side. Okay, next, the table, it shows the domains that are mostly used for each hour of the day. As you can see, the most popular domain is the music. It's quite about 40% of the percentage. But the interesting part is that the relative percentage of domains stays fairly consistent throughout the day. The authors and I thought that the percentage of domains will change that dynamically by the hour of their usage, but as you can see at the table, the relative percentage is quite fairly consistent, and that was interesting part. And next one is the usage and by changing over time. This figure is the average of unique domains that users queried per day over time. By the third week, users fairly set their domain they use, and they only use devices for 3 different domains average. The main point of this graph is that exploration of other domains or other function does not occur very much. They kind of set their usage at the week 3. Okay, and next finding is the age-related differences. They divided into 5 age group, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, and extra. And obviously, the younger people use more than age over 45. But I want to highlight this point, the light control and the volume at the 25 to 34. It was kind of interesting because it means that they control volume and light with the AI speakers, but other group doesn't. I kind of wonder why this kind of situation happened. And also 45 to 54 uses the least, and the 55-64 uses more. I think that's because the 55 to 64 age group, they stays more at home, but I wonder the exact reason for this kind of phenomenon. And okay, and our last interesting finding is they have divided into 4 behavior clusters: super users, explorers, and medium users, and light users. The heaviest users use proportionally more video and less music. The heaviest users is the super users that I described, and as you can see at this red box, the percentage of music by super user is 0.18, and that's the at least proportion among the other clusters. And the percentage use of video is 0.05, is about like 5 times more than other groups. I'm kind of this was interesting because why is only super user use video by these AI speakers? And in case in this article, they only describe the phenomenon and they don't actually say why this kind of things happen. So I'm kind of wonder they can find out the real reason. Okay, so by these findings, they suggested the implication for their design. One of the most striking finding was that the use does not change much over time, and that users in general settle on only 3 domains that they use, and they do not frequently try new ones. So they suggest that the assistant should help to introduce the users to new domains based on interaction that they make, as well as exploring interaction on other platforms such as mobile phone apps or installed other application or email. And also in this data, we saw that people often turn on music or set timers at specific length at dinner time, or ask for weather in the morning. We can create systems that show these options to the user, or even have the information waiting for them at a glass at the right time. So without the need to talk or interrupt others in household with response. So they should give the opportunity for time multimodal interaction. And the third one is the suggesting related or shorten command. This is kind of thing like engaging in dialogue to name specific action to create the shortcut, such as if you create shortcut as TV time, this could replace the turn on the living room light and turn off the kitchen light and turn on the TV. The device can memorize some shortcuts for users' convenience. And the last one is supporting the deeper agent based in interaction. This is this means that AI speaker agents should have more understanding in users' context by their complex commands. They should understand more and more what the users say about their commands, and that technology should be developed. Also, they have kind of suggested the future work of their research. They said they should replicate the study in other country or using other devices. They only gather the data from the US people and only the Google Home user. So to study in other country or using other devices are needed. And also study use of other devices such as Amazon Alexa or Apple Siri or HomePod, and they want to compare the difference between the devices. At last, they should examine the use within the household and how different family members use this device in different ways. This research only kind of classified by the household size, so they actually don't know which family member say that command or use in that like pattern. So the more information about the which family member actually used the devices in different ways are kind of required. So at last, in my opinion, there are some limitation. This work is from 2018 and it really needs to update because like the AI technology is advancing day by day and we cannot assure that this result is still working today. The implication for design that they suggested might be already developed. Also, ADI participants are not enough to give meaningful parameter. These findings are not that reliable because it doesn't have enough participants. Okay, this is kind of end of my presentation, and I want to share some discussion with our teammates or other classmates. Have you ever used any AI speakers? If you did, what kind of domains or function did you use most? And if you did not, which domain or function will be crucial to your usage? Okay, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Okay, bye-bye. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
This is our discuss session, and I'm going to ask you guys first. Have you ever used any AI speakers? If you did, what kind of domains or function did you use? Or if you did not, which domain or function will be crucial to your usage? I want to hear about you guys' the AI speaker experience. Anyone?
Oh, yes. Well, AI speakers are often at home. And if I say Aria on TV at home, Ari is responding. And turn on the TV, turn on the music, or how's the weather today, turn off the TV and respond to what humans say.
Oh, you use all that kind of functions?
Yes.
And I have a similar experience with Soyun. Maybe in my parents' home, the AI speaker called Gigajini, maybe from KT. And my family normally using function that call 기가진이 turn on the television or turn off the television or search the name of the movie. But we cannot use various function of 기가진이 because we're not familiar with that. And maybe some voice recognize of the AI speaker is not actually good in my experience.
In Korea, many AI speakers are packaged with the television or like that's internet service, so we do not use like turn the lights or other. We kind of use as function as with the TV, I think.
Yeah.
Elena, do you have any opinion?
For me, it wasn't really AI speaker, more like intelligent personal assistant, but I used Siri for some period of time when it was just launched, but I primarily used it for like searching for some information, but I actually stopped doing it because the speech recognition function wasn't at its best at that time, and I just felt like it would be much more easier and much more efficient to just type it in the search bar. Yeah, that's how I stopped using it.
Okay. Or any other people who has any discussion point or any question?
Actually, okay.
Oh, you first.
Oh, thank you. So I just wanted to add some comments about the behavioral clusters that was discussed in the paper. And like possible explanation to my mind might be the way most users of AI speakers do not really know what AI speakers can do. Like it was also covered in the paper I was preparing for this presentation. But sometimes users complain about the absence of some functions, but the truth is that this feature is here, but users just do not know what to say just to make this feature works. And I believe this is potentially the most like the biggest challenge for the AI speakers design, to make users interaction with it as easy as possible so that users easily can figure out what AI speaker can do and what it cannot do. That's what I wanted to add.
Okay. That was in my paper also, that says that the interaction with the users are not enough. I kind of agree with your ideas. Any other?
So I think that as we say, the current some natural language processing is quite not actually very good. So maybe current best use of AI speaker is for some like Elena's article for disability people and for elder people who are not easy to interact with AI or new technology. And maybe some very fast advance of technology, there are some information inequality in our society. So AI speaker and voice assistants, this kind of technology may can solve this kind of information inequality. I think.
I think that's a great point, and can move on to Elena's question, how else the voice assistant can make technical environment more inclusive. Do you guys have any ideas? Is it? In my opinion, it's not really about disabilities, but there are many lonely elderly people living alone, and they are not really socially interactive with others, and the AI speakers can help them to get over with that loneliness and it will be a very positive effect of the AI speakers.
And this is actually quite relevant concerning the time we are living in, like COVID-19 and the way people cannot get together. So in this case, these AI speakers can help a lot.
Yes.
So I agree with you.
I also agree with Minu because the article what I read says some social benefit, which is
Yes.
people feel they communicate with AI speaker or voice assistants and they feel they in some social entirety. And this is very, very big point, very the most important motivation for people using AI speaker. So I agree with it.
Okay. Any other ideas with this question? Or we can move on to science question. What are the important role of trust in using smart speakers, or how can company provide transparency about data prices in smart speakers? Soyeon, do you have any ideas?
I think the best way of the way to think is first transparent to their well, I don't know, but so next I don't know.
About privacy or some security issue, I think that this is just kind of necessary evil, which what I want to say is that when we first use some banking application, many people worry about our financial data or password gonna stolen by someone. But these days, almost everybody use some banking application like Kakao Pay or Toast. So more and more technology gonna advance. This kind of privacy risk and security problem may solve naturally maybe in future. I think that.
Okay, I kind of agree with you, but I was always scared that AI speaker is listening every single speech I say, even when I'm not using it. I was always scared, and that I think that data is going to like Google's or other companies that uses that my dialogue data. That was kind of I want them to make sure that my every word is not someone is not listening to every single thing what I say. I think that's kind of thing that scares me. I kind of know that they are not listening, but it always kind of scares me. I have to watch my saying. Like,
I also wanted to add some comments, but not about the privacy, but more like about the trust. So, to my mind, smart speakers or voice agents are actually designed in a way that users tend to trust them. For example, when you ask some basic questions like to Siri, and it responds, but it adds some funny comments to it. Like, for example, you can ask Apple Siri, who is Steve Jobs, and it's not just answer like Steve Jobs was the founder of Apple. It will add something like, "Oh, thank you for answering. This was such a good man. He was the founder of Apple," and this kind of add some anthropomorphism to smart speakers, and usually anthropomorphic features in technologies like increase users' trust in them. So I actually wasn't surprised that actual current users of smart speakers didn't consider privacy as an issue because they trust in AI speaker on such level that they do not really think about the privacy. They just think about the AI speakers like their friend or someone they can talk to. So I wasn't really surprised about the results of these experiments. That's what I wanted to add.
That's a good point.
Okay. Well, actually, we have passed like 10 minutes, so if you guys have anything more to say or anything more to discuss, feel free to say. Or if you don't, we can finish it. Or is there anything you want to say?
No, it's fine.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, then I will test this first, and I'll let you know the result. And if it's okay, we can go and do whatever you guys want to do. Okay. Okay. I'll text you in KakaoTalk the result, and can you wait for a second?